Hi everybody, I'm Dana Clark and I'm a TSA with the Nordyne Technical Support Group, and today what I would like to talk to you about is just a few of the basic fundamentals that you can use out in the field when you are going to begin installing the new JS5BD R22 replacement condensers. The first step in any replacement procedure will be to use your recovery machine. You want to remove any of the old existing refrigerant charge from the system so that we don't have any possibility for contamination once the new replacement condenser is in place. Once you have all of your refrigerant charge recovered from the system, then you'll want to go ahead and use a nitrogen charge to pressurize and flush out the old existing line set and the indoor coil. This will get us set up nicely to go ahead and begin the steps, the procedures that you're going to use to install the new replacement condensers. Now that we're ready to go ahead and begin the installation of our replacement condenser, one of the important steps that is worth noting is that even after we've recovered the refrigerant charge, we've used nitrogen to pressurize and help remove any contaminants, moisture, things of that nature from the existing line set and indoor coil. It's very important that you will want to use an RX11 flush kit to go ahead and help remove any excessive oil, any other contaminants that can become trapped at the indoor evaporator coil. This is a very important step. This will help ensure that you do not get any type of contamination into the new replacement condenser once everything is charged up and ready to go. Okay, now that we have the system charge recovered, we have flushed the existing line set and indoor coil, we're ready to begin the process of actually getting our replacement condenser set up for the brazing process, where we're going to connect our vapor and our liquid line to the condenser. Another note that is very important is that with the replacement R22 condensers, you will be required to install a new liquid line filter dryer into the line set. We do not supply a liquid line filter dryer with the replacement condenser. This will be a field installed dryer provided by the contractor. Now that we're ready to go ahead and begin brazing the vapor and liquid line connections onto the service valves of the R22 replacement condenser, the first thing that I want to point out is obviously you want to do very good pipe prepping work before you attach your piping to the service valves. Also, you want to make sure that you protect the service valves with plenty of cold, wet rags before you actually begin to braze. What this accomplishes is the prevention of any overheating of the valves themselves and your brazing joint. Also will help to combat the formulation of any carbon or buildup, scale buildup in your braze joints at the service valves themselves. So I'm going to go ahead and protect these valves with some wet rags here. Okay, now that I have my wet rags in place, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get my safety glasses on, and we are ready to go ahead and begin to braze up the service valve connections on the condenser. Okay, before I get started to braze on the replacement condenser service valves, one thing that I would also like to point out is that Nordyne highly recommends that while you are brazing up your connections at your service valves, that you have a very small nitrogen pressure charged into your system. This nitrogen will help prevent any buildup of carbon or scale formations actually inside the piping themselves when you begin to heat everything up during the brazing process. Okay, now that we've made our brazing connections and we're complete in terms of the use of the torch, what we can do now is go ahead and we're going to begin the process of actually performing a leak search on the system. We want to do this to make sure that if we have any brazed connections, any sections of piping that need a little bit of extra attention, we go ahead and get those taken care of before we actually begin to charge the unit with refrigerant. Now that we have completed our leak search process, Now what we're ready for is to begin the next step, which will be to actually get the vacuum pump connected onto the system. I'll go ahead and install the gauges onto the low and high side service valves. Before I actually make my final connection from my manifold gauge set to the vacuum pump, this is an opportunity right here because we actually have a nitrogen charge in the actual condenser itself. There is no factory supplied refrigerant in the condenser. At this time we have the opportunity to go ahead and open the service valves, and we'll slowly vent off the nitrogen charge throughout the condenser, and the line set and the indoor coil will vent that off to the atmosphere before we begin to actually pull a vacuum on the system. Once we have the vacuum pump in place and connected through our manifold gauge set, we're going to want to pull the system down in a vacuum to at least 350 to 500 microns. That actual micron depth is noted with stickers that we have placed on the condenser. Very important to note that. You want to make sure that you pull a really good solid vacuum on the system before you begin to charge any refrigerant into the system. Okay, our vacuum pump is in place and we are now prepared to start pulling a vacuum. Again, you want to pull a vacuum in the system down to 350 to 500 microns as noted on the sticker located on the side of the condenser. Now that we've completed our process of pulling a vacuum on the system, we've pulled it down to our prescribed 500 micron level as pointed out here on the sticker on the side of the condenser. We're now ready to go ahead and begin the charging process of the equipment. We want you to know that Nordyne recommends that you charge your system by weighing your refrigerant charge in. On the side of the condenser there is a data sticker. That data sticker will point out to you what your refrigerant charge by weight would be for all 15-foot line set applications. One thing that I do want to point out down here in the lower section on the side of the condenser here, there is a bright green caution sticker that points out that the JS5BD replacement condensers are only for use with R22. Do not use R410A in the replacement condensers. Also, you've heard me say replacement several times throughout the presentation today. The reason being, these are solely intended for use as replacement condensers for pre-existing R22 condensers that have failed. They are not intended for use as new construction installation equipment. Well, that just about does it here, folks. Remember that these are just a few basic fundamentals that you can use to your advantage when you're out in the field and you'll begin installing the new JS5BD replacement condensers. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.